Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ethos Online. Again, this is a space where we can be, belong, and become the very best version of ourselves. So, everyone joining us, again, wherever you are around the States, whether you're on your couch, you're sitting there drinking a nice cup of coffee watching, or it's the end of the day and you're just kind of relaxing, sitting back, or maybe it's a lunch break. I have no idea where you are, but wherever you are, whatever time it is, we just want to welcome you and say, we're excited you're along with us on this journey. So this is good. So welcome to Ethos. So today we're going to continue delving into a really interesting study over Genesis. And I've had many of you reach out and say, "Hey, this is taking a while. I've never been part of a study that has been that's taken so long over one book, and we're only on chapter 13." And so the response I continue giving people is really simple. These books, all of these compilations, there is so much depth to it. And keep in mind, we are thousands and thousands of years later looking at this book, right? Centuries. And so because of that huge time shift, we are living in a very different culture, a very different time period with very different concerns. And so the applications, they're going to be different. How we view it should be different. We should understand the author intent. We should understand who the audience was. We should take time to study this ancient piece. And secondly, let's think about this. This book was not written to you and me today, right? This was a Jewish piece. These were Jewish people all throughout the Old Testament and the New. And so if you don't understand anything about Jewish people, this gets really difficult, doesn't it? Yeah. We need to understand who the people were. And so that's why, again, delving so deep into Genesis, every phrase, every 4 or 5 verses, there's something deep for us to pick up. And so that's what we do here. We delve in deep, we ask a lot of questions, and we always look for a deeper application, right? We understand what the application was for them, but then we take time to apply it for today. And that's what we do. And so, Genesis, right? Genesis is written not as a historically sound document. We get that. It was not written for that intention, right? The point was 587 BC, Babylon, this huge warring empire. They begin taking tribes, right? They assimilate. It's almost like they're a big machine. They come through and they just consume. And whatever tribes are taken, they take on the characteristics of Babylon. And yet, the Hebrew culture, one of the very few cultures we see that responds this way, instead of taking on the characteristics of Babylon, instead of taking on the characteristics of Rome, of Greece, right, of Egypt, Israel says, no, no, no. We're not going to assimilate. We're going to hold on to our values, who we are. We're going to hold on to our stories. And so, the best way to hold on to your stories, your values, the things that make you who you are, your identity, is to write the stories. Compile the stories that are really all about you and your rich tradition, the ritual, all of it. That's what you do. And so that's exactly what this is. Genesis is a written response, just like the Torah in its entirety, is a written response to the fears of assimilation. And so Torah is poetry, it's mythology, prophetic musings, warnings to the generation. I just read this beautiful piece called By the Rivers of Babylon, a fictional piece. It was this piece essentially about 20, 30 years ago where the author was saying, look, we need to stop and we need to stop saying, can we do it? And we should start asking the question of, should we do it? Right? And that's essentially what I see over and over again in this piece. Should we do these things? We know we can, but should we do them? And so this is a constant warning to the people. Look, we've gone this direction before. Should we do it again? Right? What happened when we went this direction? Maybe we should consider shifting, get out of certain cycles, right? That's the point. That's the idea behind reading this in the first place. So, Torah is a complete narrative of Israel miniaturized through its tellings. And so, we have moved from Adam to Noah, and now we are meeting this prophetic individual, Abraham, who, again, his name means founder, right? The founder of Israel. And so, Abraham steps in. And we went through the story of he and his wife going into Egypt. They make some mistakes, right? They pick up some new baggage. And the question, of course, is what will we do with this new freedom, the new direction we have? And so he and Lot, they're moving in this new direction. What will we do with the freedom, the gifts, the promises we have? And so that is where we enter chapter 13 again. So, chapter 13, we're going to read through verses 13 through 18. So, here we go. Let's read. And the people of Sodom were very evil and sinful against the Lord. And the Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, "Please raise your eyes and see. From the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward, from all the land that you will see, I will give to you and your seed to eternity. I will make your seed like the dust of the earth, so that if I a man will be able to count the dust of the earth, so will your seed be counted. Rise, walk in the land, to its length and to its breadth, for I will give it to you." And Abram pitched his tent, and he came, and he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is Hebron. And there he built an altar to the Lord. Now watch this. Verses 13. And the people of Sodom were very evil and sinful against the Lord. Now, doesn't that seem a bit redundant? When we read it today, we're thinking evil and sinful. Aren't those the same things? Now, I've learned over and over again, whenever I come across something that just kind of strikes as a little bit odd, the first thing I've learned to do is I always ask the question. The more questions you ask, the deeper you can go down the rabbit hole, right? The deeper you can find interesting concepts, right? If we just do surface reading, stuff like this we miss. But if we ask the questions, why the redundancy, evil, sinful, aren't they the same thing? But once you dive in a bit deeper, you'll find there's a really interesting rabbinic interpretation here. In fact, it's a very popular one amongst Jewish rabbis. And so here's the idea. Jewish rabbis would often say, and this was long before Jesus enters the picture, this would have been just post Babylon, how they interpreted the story. And so evil and sinful. The idea here, these are two words, but the two words, evil and sinful, evil is actually the word here used in this specific way. It's the idea of it's a sin against the body. So think about that. It's something that is hurting you, your body. It's the idea of almost gluttony. And then sinful, the word here that we've translated sinful today, it actually means like a misuse of money and resources. So watch me now. The deeper issues here, evil, sinful, Sodom, right? Sodom is a place, Sodom and Gomorrah. This is a place where people are gluttonous and they're greedy. They're constantly just take. I want that, I'll take it, right? I don't care who gets hurt. I don't care what the responses are of other people. I want it, I'm going to take it, right? I see that thing, it's mine now, right? We don't think about other people. We don't think about our own well-being. We just, if it's there, it should be mine. Whatever resources, gifts, other people's belongings, right? Those kind of things, I'm just going to take. In fact, even if I know something's going to be bad for me, I'm still going to take it anyways. I'm still going to consume it anyways because I can, right? I have the freedom to, I can. And so this is the heart of Sodom. This is the idea of sodomy. It's literally this idea that I'm just going to gluttonously, greedily take, misuse, right? This is Sodom. It actually reminds me of 1 Corinthians 6:13. And in 1 Corinthians 6:13, by the way, is a reference way back to Babylonian times. This is an adage that the Babylonians had. And this was the adage, and it's very simple. It just is simple. Food for the stomach, stomach for the food. Food for the stomach, stomach for the food. And I'll get into the rest of this in a minute, but think about this. It's there. I'm going to eat it. It's good. And so what you would have during this culture is people began to, especially in the AD period, right? Anywhere from 1 to 40 AD, you had people moving around that would just say, well, she looks good. She's someone else's wife, but I don't care. I'm hungry, right? I want that. I don't care what the reactions are, who gets her. I want it. I'm going to take it. And so they would use food for the stomach, stomach for the food, this oftentimes used phrase for everything. Anything that they're just hungry for, anything that they desire, they felt they should have. If you have a desire, you should fulfill it. And that was the Babylonian way as well. And so it's so interesting to me. This warning in First Corinthians is a very similar warning to the story here that we find with Lot and Abraham, and where we see Sodom going, right? This land that Lot inhabits, in the direction his people move. Look at the rest of the quote there. And God will destroy them both. The body, however, is not meant for sexual immorality, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. Again, notice the allusions here. Again, evil, sinful, the idea, lust, greed, all of these concepts all put together. If a society is all just about, I want it, I want to take it, it looks good, I have a desire for it, it should be mine, think about the direction we head. I posted these pictures purposely. Just take a moment and look at them. Guy walking down the street with his girlfriend, wife, whatever, sees someone else he's interested in. Well, our gray matter, our prefrontal cortex would say, hey, hold on, right? This could bring some pretty big drama or whatever. We should stop, think about this, right? But food for the stomach, stomach for the food says, take. I want it, I'm going to have it. A donut, right? The idea of the donut. The food that we eat, we are, in America, we are one of the most obese, unhealthy nations in the world. Yeah, think about that one. We think we are so great. We have healthcare down to a T. The truth is, we're living extremely unhealthy, sedentary lives. And we're eating garbage at like alarming rates because we have this idea, if I want it, I should have it, and I should have it now. Right? We have these Amazon diets. I want it now, I'm going to get it now, and I'm going to eat it now. That's the way we live. I desire it, it's mine. Drinking, alcoholism has gotten far worse over the last couple of years, especially during the middle of COVID. We've seen this, right? The drama, there were police reports of these moments where the husband or the wife will just lose it on each other. This is happening, right? I want it, I desire it, it's mine. And so what we have here in the middle of our culture, especially in America, is this idea that if I want the thing, I'm going to take it. And again, in the middle of all of this is this thing called lust, right? Greed, gluttony, evil, sinful. I want it, I'm lusting for it, I should have it. But the problem here is that lust, greed, gluttony, it promises something that just won't deliver, will it? And I think we've all been there. We bought the new pair of shoes that we were just wanting. We got them. We put them on. And 2 days later, the thrill is gone, isn't it? We need something else. We need another pair of shoes. And no wonder some of our closets are packed of shoes or whatever the thing is. I just need more and more and more and more and more because lust promises what it can't deliver. And so Sodom, the very heart of Sodom, is that these people have shifted away from the promise and have said, we are chasing things that won't deliver, right? We're chasing things that aren't going to deliver. And so they eat the fruit and they do certain things over and over again. And they become the people of Noah's time. They're chasing things that just won't satisfy. They won't deliver. Now, I find a really interesting connection to this point in chapter 13. Many of you have read the story of the prodigal son. And here's the thing. I would love for you, after this teaching today, I would love for you to take a moment, read this section in Genesis chapter 13, and then take a few moments and read the prodigal son story. What you'll find, so many similarities. Because think about the prodigal son. The story starts with, I have this desire, this lust for this different life, right? The high life, right? I want Dad, I want you to give me the inheritance. Basically saying, Dad, I wish you were dead. And I want what's coming to me before I earn any of it. I want it. I want the gift. I want it. I want. And he's lusting for certain things that he thinks are going to fill him up. And so he goes out, right? And he blows all the money on so many different things. And he finds he's empty at the end of the day. And he's eating with pigs in a trough. Again, what an interesting Jewish picture. Pigs being like the worst of animals. the most unhealthy, unclean of animals. And now he's become one of them. He has chased promises that don't deliver. And this is what the picture of Sodom looks like. Jewish people who have different values, different understandings of the world, and now they've simply become just another swine, right? Another thing that has essentially missed the promise, wanted to basically, instead of living the full, abundant life, just wallow in the mud. That's the interesting picture there. And this is, again, the idea of Sodom. It's Sodom. Let me continue on. In chapter 13, verse 18, watch this. Abraham parted from him, and the Lord said to him, please raise your eyes and see. I think this is such an interesting point. First off, think about this. Whenever you have that promise come in your ear, right? And all of us have been there. Hey, this will be really good. You want it, you should take it. Food for the stomach, stomach for the food, right? You have the desire, you think the thing. But I love this little picture here, this beautiful Hebraic picture. Raise your eyes and see. And I think a lot of us, we've been stuck in ruts before, situations before, problems, whatever it is. And the idea here is really an interesting one. The idea is to raise your eyes, look up, become aware of the world around you. There's something bigger going on. Yeah, it's so good. Look up, see the world. There's so much more happening than what you're seeing. Oftentimes, I think we get these narrowed perceptions of the world, right? We have this desire and we get so key focused, right? Laser focused on it, that we miss everything else that's good that's happening around us. In fact, we'll get so distracted with the promise that the thing is telling us it will give, that we miss all the beauty and abundant life all around us. We forget it's already here. The gift is already here, but we think that thing that we're laser focused on is somehow going to be the thing. And usually we end up broken, hurting, and alone. Yeah. Continues. For all the land that you see, I will give to you and your seed to eternity. Now, here's the thing. Many people, many Jewish people have taken this to mean that land is ours. Literally, right? That land is promised to us. That land is our land, right? That actual piece of dirt is our land. But when you begin to dig deeper into the rabbinical understandings, interpretations, what you'll get is this is a bigger metaphor. The idea here is the land was this beautiful picture of what it looks like to live in harmony with each other and with God. And this is a state of existence, less about a literal piece of land, Jerusalem, right? This is a place where it's a way of life. We carry Jerusalem on our backs wherever we go. That's the bigger picture. And so the promise is that you will live a life of abundance and well-being, shalom. And everywhere you go, you take it with you. This is not to be a literal picture, but a very metaphorical one. You are Israel. Israel is wherever you go. Even if that's in the middle of captivity, you carry Israel and its values on your back. And think about what that means as a Christian, right? You carry the teachings of Jesus everywhere you go, whether it's to work, back home, a restaurant, wherever it is, you carry that on your back. Wherever you go, you carry the teachings of Jesus. You live shalom. Beautiful. Yeah, it's already there. It's already among you. That's why Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is already here. It's already among you. It's been here the whole time because it's within you. It's everywhere you go, right? So the promise is you are the thing. You're the thing. It's happening with you right here, right now. And that's the beautiful promise. And Abraham begins to understand this. No matter where he chooses to go, he's going to be blessed. He could choose to go right, left, straight, backward, wherever it is, whichever direction he goes, whichever land he chooses, it's going to be blessed because he understands he and his people embody Jerusalem, right? They embody the promised land. They embody the promise, the gift. So good. And Abram pitched his tents, and he came and he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and there he built an altar to the Lord. So again, we enjoy it, we stop, we take time, the promise is going to be fulfilled. All right, for Abraham, the promise is going to be fulfilled. He chooses to live in it now. He pitches his tent, he settles in it. He accepts the promise. He says, I'm going to live in the promise. I'm going to constantly remind myself of the promise. I'm going to embody the promise. The problem here is, though, Lot does not. Lot moves in the other direction. And so lust, Sodom, gluttony, greed, sin, evil, this is the direction Lot goes. And so we see two very different ways of inhabiting the world. Go back to the prodigal son for a moment. Think about this question. The prodigal is really having to answer a question that the Jewish people were being given to Jesus. Jesus is giving them the story, not just to tell a story, right? This wasn't a literal story. This was a prodigal son. This was a story, a metaphorical piece. And so he says, "Who are you, Jewish people? Who are you, prodigal?" Right? And specifically looking at not just the prodigal, but also the eldest son. Who are you? Because I think we forget that our center, at the very center of what it means to be human, is to embody kingdom of God, right? It's the goodness, it's mercy, it's love. We are the center of all of that because we've been gifted that by God. You are the thing. You are the creation. You are the thing that's going to walk the earth and do good things, bring shalom. That starts with you. And so the idea here in the very beginning, the son asks for something he already has. He already has the promise. He already has the gift. He already has the love of the Father. He just doesn't get it yet because his laser focus is on one thing that he thinks is going to bring him life, and he's missing the fact that it's already there. It's already there. He's worthy of the thing that's already there. Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's already there. I was in my classroom with some of my students, and we have really good conversations. And I would say, 3 weeks ago, I had a birthday. It was my 41st birthday. And one of my students says to me, what did you do for your birthday? Really innocent question. And so we were talking because she had just had a birthday a couple days before. And so I said, well, I didn't want them to make a big deal about me, and I said, well, we ate a little food, and I dug a patio all day, and it kind of got boring, right? I told her what I did, and she looked at me and she said, you know what, Mr. Werfel, that doesn't seem like you at all. She said, you're the guy that I feel like would love a party. You're the guy that I could see you enjoying people celebrating over you. And then I started thinking about that. Because my whole life I've spent my time saying, no, 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 don't do a party for me. Don't throw the thing for me, right? Don't make a big deal about me. But I think deep down in my soul, I love a party. I love when people take time to celebrate me, to celebrate with me. And she said something to me that was so beautiful because she looked at me and she started smiling and she said, Mr. Werfel, I'm going to say something that you would say to us. And I was like, oh no, here we go. She looked at me and she started smiling. She said, Mr. Werfel, you're worth the party. It's so good. You're worth the party. You're worth the party. And when she said it, it hit me so deep. Because I think for many of us, we miss it, right? We get so laser focused on these things we think are going to bring us life. They're promising things they can't deliver. The reality is it's already happening all around us. And we miss out on what's really happening here. Our worthiness, our goodness, the love that's given to us, the promise that we're already living right here, right now. And it's worth celebrating. You're worth the party. If Sodom and Gomorrah, if Lot and his people understood this, they would be pitching their tents in a very similar way as Abraham and his people. They would already be living the thing because they understood they're worth the party. I don't need those superfluous things because I already feel fulfilled. I already feel connected. I'm already experiencing shalom. It's been there the whole time. And so the Father's promise, I love you and all I have is yours, is there. It's there for both Abraham and Lot. The son doesn't think he deserves the party, does he? Truth is, again, we've always been worthy. And once we realize we are worth the party, we no longer seek it from other things, do we? We no longer have to go out and seek the extra donut, right? Food for the stomach, stomach for the food. We don't need that kind of life anymore because we're already living it right here, right now. We are already pitching our tents right there in the promise that there is goodness, that the promise that the Father loves and cares, and we are living in the abundant life right here, right now. You are worth the party. Beautiful? Yeah. And so, how do we take it home? How do we apply all of this? Because there were so many different little beautiful messages in this one little text, weren't there? Here's the one that I kind of got kind of connected to as I was reading it. Seeing yourself in a positive way. I want you to do this today. I think it's so important. And again, it's springtime, and it's a time to change habits. Begin viewing ourselves differently. Everyone's talking about getting into a new diet and exercise program. That's great. But it's not going to change unless we change the way we view right here inside, right? And so, number one, focus on the good things. Think about this for a moment. Focus on the good things. When you're faced with a problem, focus on the good things. No matter how small or like seemingly insignificant they seem, if you look for it, you can always find it, and like you'll find this proverbial silver lining. It'll be there. Look for the small things. It's not always going to be obvious, right? But look for it. You'll find it. There are always good things if you just take a moment and consider it. And that for me jump starts me into number two. Number two, open yourself up to humor. I will oftentimes begin my day with watching a little bit of YouTube. I'll look for like a Jerry Seinfeld or one of my favorite comedians. I'll do that and I'll just find myself laughing. It's an interesting way to start my day. And when I do, when I choose not to delve into like politics or whatever the thing is, whatever the talk shows or podcasts are, instead of going there, laughing a bit, watching an episode of Modern Family, I don't know, anything like that will shift. And that laughter actually does something to your body. The stress, the anxiety, depression, it shifts. We know that. We know that neurologically, watching and engaging in humorous things will help us with coping skills, mood, self-esteem. It does that for us. Take some time to laugh. Try it. It's done wonders for me. Number three, practice self-positive talk. All of us are really good at negative talk, aren't we? We can find the negative in everything we do. We are our worst critics. But research shows that even like a small shift in the way that you talk about yourself, it can influence your ability to regulate your feelings, thoughts, behaviors under stress. It does all of this. So just simply reminding yourself, hey, I'm doing well. I'm actually doing really well here. I have a lot to offer. I'm creative. I'm this, I'm that. Remind yourself that you really do have a lot to offer. You are a good person. There are great qualities about you. Take moments during the day to remind yourself of that. Positive talk is huge. And lastly, start every day on this positive note. Begin your day, and I would even argue ending your day on some kind of positive note. Create a ritual. Try it. Start your day every morning with some kind of uplifting message. End it with some kind of uplifting message. And many people will call this devotions, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes if you're just taking the Bible and flipping through, and before you know it, you're on, Jeremiah 29:11, and God's cursing the world, right? Make your time, make it intentional. Make sure you're reading things that are lifting you up, that are bringing a sense of calm and peace and excitement, or just bringing you to a place where you can sleep at night and you're not worrying so much about everything that happened. Take time, listen to a happy playlist, right? You might create some of your favorite songs, just uplifting songs. They don't have to be cheesy, but ones that just bring you a sense of calm, peace, connection. Make the playlist, watch the positive YouTubes. Those kind of things are going to be so helpful, reminding us we're worth the party, right? We're worth the party. There are good things happening all around us. Because again, I think once we make that connection, once we start living that way, we can live in a place like Abraham lived, pitching our tents in the positive places, the places where life, love, mercy abide, right? Rather than in the place of gluttony, punishment, pain, brokenness, lust, empty promises, Lot's Sodom, right? We can choose to be pitching our tents somewhere else. And I think this idea of the prodigal coming home, realizing it's been there the whole time, it's been right here within me, that idea is so good, so beautiful. But I think it starts by understanding our own worth first. Everyone, thank you so much for taking time today. As always, please consider going to ethos-church.org/donate. We continue to attempt to give you Ethos living rooms where we meet, discuss things online. And as always, please hit that subscribe button, share that YouTube video. We really want to grow this YouTube channel this year and other avenues of video as well. And so everyone take care. We love you. And we're going to finish up chapter 13 next week.